We have a special guest in the studio this morning, the one, the only, author extraordinaire, Mr. Lawrence Gulley. Good morning, Lawrence.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Evergreen and Excel, Monroeville, and all the other little towns around here.
All right, Lawrence got his 12th book out. It's called Sweet Liberty. If God be for us, who can be against us?
That's right. It's about the Revolutionary War and the struggles and.
Lawrence, we were outside talking a minute ago about Cora Jean, and what's your number 2 bestseller?
The Peanut House.
Peanut House. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, they're all good. I haven't read that. That'll give me something to do this weekend. Read that.
I think that's a pretty good little book. It's by a new printer, and the book is thin, but it's got just as many words in it as the other one. My old printer, they got COVID out there in California and shut the place down.
Huh.
So I waited on the book, and finally the publisher said, we got to get this book out, but we'll have to go to another printer, and that's the way they printed it.
That's a sharp-looking book.
Pardon?
It's a sharp-looking book.
Yeah, the cover. I like the cover of it.
Now, which one of your books are they turning into a movie? Isn't there some news on that?
That's the very first one I wrote, Cora Jean.
Yeah.
They're trying to hammer out a deal for me. And
You got your lawyer working on it, I assume.
no, I'm working on it myself. I got a lawyer. I need to talk to her about it. If I don't wind up in penitentiary, maybe she can get me out of there. On tax.
Well, Mindy's all upset now because she wants to be sure in the contract that she gets to play old Cora Jean.
Yeah, she can
Let's
play
take
Cora
that
Jean.
old. Let's just say.
I got
Cora
a
Jean.
young Cora.
So
I
I'm
got a
gonna
little girl from Cincinnati, and buddy, that thing's pretty.
What's her name?
She's a Gulley. Who's gonna play the young Cora Jean?
I built a radio station in Citronelle one time.
Did you?
Yeah, me and my partner. Well, I built it. Gary Fuller and I owned it, and we got it up. I built it, got it up running. We sold it to the Disney people,
To who?
the Walt Disney Company.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, the other one behind the Cora Jean, making a movie out of the Walt Disney Company. I wouldn't figure nobody like that, but made a movie like that. But that's who was.
So the Disney company's looking at Cora Jean.
Yeah.
Well, they got the correct chain. Well, I don't know now since they've been shut down. Anytime you can sell a Coca-Cola for $7.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Disney,
Well,
that's big
like
time,
I
Lawrence.
said, that COVID had them put skids on them about making a movie right now. But
Well, the CNN host's wife is recommending you take a bleach bath. Now I want to see him dip her in Clorox and see what she comes out looking like.
I don't know. Don't forget, my wife wanted you to play a song. She said about love. So, I don't know what it's going to. She said, you know, you played it last year about this time. I said, my God, Bowman. Don't tell how many songs Luther played between here and last year.
What did she call it?
She said about love. Play a song to her about love. I said, I don't know.
Hell, it's just about all about love.
Yeah.
Lawrence, you say this book's about the American Revolution. Was it inspired by events in your family's history, or?
Yes, it is. I just followed my fourth grandpa back in the battle that he was in. And of course, I didn't put Gulley in the book, but I put my great grandma name in there. She was a Hennet.
Were they from the Carolinas, like North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
That been called. I'll tell you something. I found out a lot while writing this book. The South, if it hadn't been for the South, we would have never won that thing.
That'd be correct.
they were just pushing poor George Wallace around. I'm George Wallace. George Washington around up there in New York and Trenton and places, just tearing him up. So Colonel Green from Carolina, I think South Carolina, told him, said, I tell you what, we're going to do something down here in Savannah, and we're going to draw Cornwallis down here, and they didn't jump on this bunch of rednecks. Of course, they didn't use that term. So they did. They started bombarding the British boats and stuff out there, and sure enough, here come Cornwallis, and I think 6 more frigates.
Well, you know, did you ever see the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies.
And so it was a little place there in Savannah. It's a channel that it was the only place you could embark and debark. And so when the British come up there, well, the Patriots was waiting on them on that little island out from that channel. And they started shedding the ships. Well, one of them sunk in that channel. And the rest of them, the big ships, couldn't get in there. And we just tore them up, man. But they fought for weeks out there. And but it's awful. Like in one battle, the Battle of Kings Mountain is what puts it. The gobnobbings on the British from coming south.
Well, you know, another thing, Lawrence, talking about the South and what effect it had on winning the Revolution. But back then, the South was the Carolinas and Georgia.
Yeah.
But, in 1812, 1813, they tried it again. Matter of fact, they burned the White House.
I sure did.
And Andrew Jackson was trying to intercept the British in New Orleans. Berlin Finley, who's the mayor of Mount Carmel, Florida, his great-great-great-granddaddy heard about it, came up and joined. Well, as a matter of fact, Andrew Jackson founded Fort Deposit. That's where Billy Bob Bailey's from, Louis Grizzard's buddy. And Berlin's great-great-great-granddaddy joined up with him and went and fought the British in New Orleans, and his great-great-granddaddy's rifle is in the Archives and History Building in Montgomery.
Well, my granddaddy's got a walking stick up there in the archive that he whittled for Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Huh.
You know, something else that's interesting. You know Clifford Manning Jr. I know.
Oh, yeah, my neighbor.
Well, Clifford, his house is like a museum.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And Miss Emily Yarburg gave him an old Civil War sword. Well, he got to checking, it wasn't a Civil War sword, it was a Revolutionary War sword.
Huh.
They ever showed it to you?
No, but I bet it was made in England. Most of them were that the colonists fought with.
And I don't know if it was a colonial sword or a British sword.
It was British, probably British sword. See, if it hadn't been for France, we didn't have any muskets or anything over here hardly. France sent over a pile of muskets and black powder and stuff for us to fight the British with.
But let me tell you something about France. We make a lot of jokes about them. But now you got to understand that during World War I and World War II, 2 generations of French men got wiped out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would not be a United States without France.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So anyway, we wound up defeating the British there at Savannah, and all those big ships and stuff, and they turned around after I think 2 weeks fighting, trying to get in there, and sailed on back up north. And then the final dobbins we put on them was the King's Mountain. They came down and we was waiting on them. I told Washington, said, you send them on back down here and we'll put the dobbins on them. So sure enough, here they come. And they took Savannah. They let them have Savannah that time. They come, they fired at them. Cornwallis took off in behind the Patriots, and they just run. They run from Savannah all the way up to the border of South Carolina and North Carolina and started climbing Kings Mountain. Well, Cornwallis, Ferguson was his name. Cornwallis was behind him. The British general was Ferguson. And he started climbing that mountain, and we was waiting on him. The Patriots were waiting on him. And we didn't get about halfway up there, and had a bunch of Patriots went out of the woods down there below the mountain. They started shooting up. The ones up there started shooting down, just annihilated Ferguson.
Have you ever heard the story about how before that kicked off, Ferguson said that before the sun went down, the British would be peeing on the graves of all those the colonials? Well, he got killed, and now he's buried there, and it's a routine thing for people to pee on his grave every day.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
That's a true story, though.
All right.
But he was shot 7 times.
It's time now for today. Today in History brought to you each morning, Monday through Friday, by Doc and Jenny and the whole crew there at D&D Furniture in Frisco City, where they carry the full Ashley furniture lineup as well as a lot of other lineups. And Lawrence, you and Doc are good friends.
Yeah.
I saw you in one of his commercials in one of those $65 rockers.
Yeah, I went over and talked to Doc yesterday. Yeah. Doc's a cat, I'm telling you.
And
Doc may buy a house I got in Repton over there. He's gonna go look at it Sunday. Hope he does.
take it away, Melinda Kay.
All right. Today is Friday, October 16th. And we're over halfway through the month.
Mm-hmm. Be Halloween before you know it.
Interesting. Halloween's canceled in a lot of places because of China virus. However, on this day in 1887, John Tillman Melvin was born in Selma. While serving as a 30-year-old naval lieutenant aboard the patrol boat USS Alcedo, he would become the first U.S. naval officer killed in World War I when the ship was torpedoed by a German sub on November 5th, 1917. Melvin's body was never recovered, lost at sea, but a memorial in his honor can be found at Live Oak Cemetery in Selma. On October 16, 1917, serving aboard the USS Cason, Alabamian Kelly Ingram became the first American serviceman killed in action during World War I. In 1918, the Navy named a destroyer after Ingram, marking the first time an enlisted man had a ship named in his honor. Congress later awarded Ingram the Medal of Honor, and the city of Birmingham named Ingram Park after the Pratt City hero. October 16, 1926, journalist, author, poet, radio man, and teacher Riley Kelly was born in Excel. A graduate of Emory University and World War II Navy veteran, he worked for the Frisco City Sun, the Monroe Journal, and WMFC. His books include In Search of Light in 1969, Patterns, 1970, The Human Way, 1974, and Prize Cachet, 1974 as well. October 16, 1973, Evergreen police officers Henry Vickery and Johnny Blackman and police dispatcher Swan Turner witnessed a UFO in downtown Evergreen just after midnight. They reported watching an unusual light in the sky for 15 to 20 minutes, and the news of the incident was reported nationwide in newspapers and on television and radio broadcast. October 16, 1974. Former Evergreen Current publisher and editor Robert Gaston Bozeman Sr. passed away at the age of 77 and was buried in Evergreen's Magnolia Cemetery. He was inducted into the Alabama Press Association Hall of Honor in 1980. I just wonder, that was kind of late at night Had Henry and them taken them a few nips
No,
before they saw the
Henry was one of my best friends, and he and I talked about that.
So he saw an
Fox
unidentified
News
flying
don't
object.
lie.
He didn't make no
I
bones
saw
about
a
it.
thing on Fox News where UFOs have been proven to be out there.
Oh, yeah.
They're shutting off these atomic bombs and all over the world. They're cutting them off. And they found metal that they have that's not on the earth. So it makes you wonder, you know.
Yeah, but
Oh, they're out there. Ain't no doubt in my mind.
so you
I've
believe in
never seen
aliens
one.
as well?
Mhm.
I had a lady call me yesterday because I had a story about that in the paper this week about Henry and them's UFO experience. This woman that called me, her parents were an older couple that lived here in Evergreen in one of the big older houses on Main Street, and they were in bed. Their phone was an old style, 1950 style landline phone that was in the hallway of their house. Well, they were in the bed and they heard this phone start making a buzzing noise, like a unusual pulsing type noise. Well, they got up and checked on the phone, and of course nobody was on the phone, and they just hung it up and kind of went back to bed. That happened at the same time that Henry and them saw the UFO over Evergreen. But they didn't know it at the time, but whenever they got up the next morning and heard about everything that had
Well, I can
happened.
tell you this, it made a lasting impression on Henry.
Yeah, he didn't make no bones about it. He would tell you all about it, yeah.
And,
I was coming from Atmore one night, and I was working. I wasn't nipping and drinking, but I was on the Butler Street, and along I don't know about midway there, I saw a huge airplane, and it had been a big passenger airplane. And I looked out to the right, and you could see the people sitting up in that thing. It was right above the trees. If it had crashed, it would have been like in Repton, I guess, somewhere along there. And there was light in that airplane, must have been 70, 80 lights, windows. I said, my God, that plane's going to crash.
was it a jet or a prop?
It was a jet airplane. It was a passenger plane. Like I said, I could see people sitting up in there. And so I never did see it. It disappeared behind the trees. And I didn't see it anymore. So that's when Billie Jean Harrison was policing in Excel. So that had been in the 60s or early 70s. I pulled in, I told old Billie Jean, because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, hey man, you had any reports of any planes crashing? And I told him what I'd seen. He said, no. So I don't know whatever happened to it, but well, the aliens got him or what?
See, I'm always kind of skeptical of those reportings. I don't know why. I just don't. I guess I've never seen one person.
I've told this before, Wendell Simmons and I were flying from Citronelle to Monroeville, that little runway he had behind his house there.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw one, it crossed right in front of us. We didn't know what it was. I was a little bit skeptical myself. I said, Wendell, did you see that? He said, yeah, what was it? I said, dang if I know. Let's get this thing on the ground pretty quick.
Yeah, but you've seen ghosts and everything else, Luther.
I've never seen a ghost.
seen a ghost.
I've never seen a ghost.
Well, I mean, didn't a ghost like pick something up and hand it to you?
No, they threw a light.
Oh yeah, hit you with a light.
Didn't hit me with a light. It was throwing at the guy with the
With the other guy sitting in the room with you.
parapsychologist. No, we were standing around the table. Light was sitting on the table. Didn't nobody touch it. And all of a sudden it went flying right across. Ike told the other guy, he said, let's go. Time now for That's the Word with Brother Wayne McMillan. Brother Wayne brought to you each morning, Monday through Friday, by Daniel Sawyer and the Sawyer family, and all of them there at South Alabama Kubota and Rental on the Strip in Monroeville.